Good morning. My name is Carrie Nielsen. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at MLUC, and I am thrilled to welcome all of you to this morning's worship service, all of you here in the room and everyone joining us online. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are Unitarian Universalists. The Unitarians believed that there were many different ways to access the holy, and the Universalists believed that every person is holy. And on the foundation of these traditions, we've built a religion that accepts many different perspectives on the divine and upholds the inherent worth and dignity of every person and keeps love at the center of everything we do. So thank you for joining us this morning for a worship service that will be led by our Congregational Life Coordinator and Ministerial Intern, Yvette McDonnell, our Director of Learning and Family Ministry, Dawn Star Sarahs-Borchelt, our Worship Associate, Tina Adams, and with music by the MLUC Band, which this morning includes Brian Warren on guitar and lap steel, Jodie Brown on piano, and Elisa Lang on bass. And I heard a rumor that the postlude is good for dancing. So something to look forward to. In preparation for our worship service, please make sure that your devices are silenced, and please join me in stating the mission of our congregation. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
we light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together from our great hymnal, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
I would like to introduce you to JETPIG. And JETPIG is an acronym for our new UU values, which were adopted about a year ago by the General Assembly, which are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And I personally, having grown up UU, only know what the 7 principles were because I know the 7 principles song. People have tried to make JETPIG songs and I'm not impressed so far. But the acronym in and of itself and the visual of a flying pig are pretty good. So it's helping me remember the new values for sure. Now, I wanted to invite any members of the youth group, which I think is Travis and Katie and Day, who are here. If anybody else is here and I missed you, you can come up too. But you guys made this JETPIG, so I want you guys to come up and tell me the details and tell everybody else the details. Come on, you can do it. So here's a microphone. Tell me what the features of JETPIG are. Anybody?
So it has some socks and a necklace. Those are some of the features.
His goggles have a J and a P and a star.
For JETPIG, yeah, okay.
And this is his jetpack.
Yeah. Now I remember, so there's 6 jewels here for the 6 values other than love, right? And then I don't think people know what this thing back, explain this part.
Looks like a nice little belt for our pig.
It is a belt, and it says JETPIG, and these kind of bracelets are very popular because, look at your wrist, child. This is my kid, by the way. Okay. I thought they were a Swiftie thing. Okay. What do I know? Okay, so, and I also, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I like the idea that this is a flying pig, that like when pigs fly, justice, equity, transformation, interdependence, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity will have love at the center. Yes, okay. Thank you. Now, I would like to say this guy lives in my office, but I will put him out in coffee hour so you can get a closer look at them today. Thank you very much for making JETPIG. Oh, yeah, I will leave him right there for right now. And I would like to invite children and youth to come out to the atrium with me, and we'll figure out what we're doing today.
Each month during the year and during the summer months of July and August, we select a local charity with whom we share half of our collection. Our current recipient is Family Promise of Montgomery County, formerly Family Promise of the Main Line. The organization provides an interfaith response to homelessness and hunger, dedicating themselves to partnering with communities to address these issues, one family at a time. Here at MLUC, we host families often for a week and more recently for 2-week stays. Please look out for notifications of volunteer opportunities here at MLUC to work with Family Promise throughout the year. The organization shared a story that shows how connecting with families and giving them referrals and resources can ensure a long-term success. Here's the story. After being evicted, a woman with the initial M and her children relied on couch surfing and Code Blue shelters. She reached out to Your Way Home and was placed on the family shelter wait list and was eventually selected for Interfaith Hospitality Network. With the support of case management, she secured childcare, found a job, and collaborated with Family Promise of Montgomery County to obtain an apartment, her own apartment for her family in Norristown. She is now part of the Rapid Rehousing Program. Family Promise of MontCo most certainly aligns with the UU values of equity, transformation, pluralism, and interdependence. If you'd like to make a cashless donation and are in the sanctuary, you can scan the QR code that is on the order of service, or for those here and those at home, follow the instructions that you see on the screen behind me. The offering will now be gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward? In our ritual called Candles of Community, members may submit a joy or a sorrow, ask us to share it and to light a candle for them. After each candle is lit, we join in saying, "We hold you in our hearts." Our staff lights a candle of sadness for the MLUC leader, board president, moderator, and generous donor, Marty Zenner, who passed away last Sunday. She lived at Dunwoody, but had been in frail health. Marty is remembered fondly by many members. For Marty, her family, and those whose lives she touched here, we hold you in our hearts. Eileen and Jeff Moran light a candle of hope for their daughter Jennifer, who grew up at MLUC. Jennifer was diagnosed with cancer last summer. So far, 3 rounds of immunotherapy have been somewhat successful, and the outlook is that 3 more rounds will complete the process. Eileen and Jeff ask that we hold Jennifer in our hearts, and we hold you, Eileen and Jeff, in our hearts. And we light a final candle today for all of your joys, sorrows, or concerns that are unspoken or are too deep for words at this time, and hold you in our hearts.
Good morning. Today's reflective reading is from poet and activist Andrea Gibson. Build yourself as beautiful as you want to be. Wrap yourself in light and then give yourself away. Give yourself away with your heart, your brush, your march, your art, your poetry, your play, and for every day you paint the war. Take a week and paint the beauty. The color, the shape of the landscape you're marching towards, everyone knows what you're against. Show them what you are for. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Good morning again. Thank you all for coming today. Good morning to all of you who are online. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. You're welcome. Today I want to talk about love. I saw somebody with a yellow, oh, they're not there. They're not here anymore. They had their side with love shirt on. And today I want to talk about love. And not just any old kind of love, but love that lives at the center. So you might be wondering, like, what does that even mean to have love that lives at the center? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that smell like? What does it feel like? These are some of the questions I've been doing my best to try to connect to and understand myself, that this kind of love, what does it mean for me as an individual? What does it mean for me, for my ministry and as a ministerial intern? And what does this love mean for all of us here at MLUC? So love at the center, I'm starting to realize and find out it's not just an ordinary type of love. It is something that is very, very special. And as I continue on this journey of life, I have begun to widen my understanding of love and all of the layers of experiences and the ways love manifests in and around my life and our lives collectively, and how it shows up in our relationships with one another, and how we connect with love in the greater world. I've been sitting with love, and love has become a constant companion. It quietly is just kind of lingering at the edges of my consciousness. This love at the center that I'm speaking about is starting to transform itself as this vibrant friend. And this entity of love is deep. It is complex. And it's urging me to hold space for its many, many forms. And this kind of love is not easy. It is bringing forth some really hard questions. And it's challenging me to understand love, not so much as a simple construct, but as a rich, intricate tapestry woven into a fabric of all of our lives. I'm just going to let that sit just for a moment. I've come to realize that love defies boundaries. I've come to realize that love is non-binary, and it dwells within queer spaces. See, this kind of love that I'm talking about, it cannot be like condensed. It cannot be rigid. It cannot be defined. It cannot be held by any type of box. This kind of love that I'm speaking about, this love at the center, it's kind of like a shapeshifter, right? And it conjures, and it manifests, and it dances in the shadows. And no matter how much I stand here before you today to attempt to do my very best to describe this love at the center, I am always reminded that love is ever evolving. and it is always capable and has been capable of surprising me when I least expect it. This love that I'm talking about is very dynamic. Love at the center is constantly there for us, but the question is, are we listening? Are we leaning into the gifts that love is offering us? On July 14th, 2025, I lost a dear friend. Their name was Andrea Gibson. They were a remarkable poet and activist whose voice brought forth the complexities of love. Through their art, Andrea challenged norms, illuminated social injustices, and touched on the profound themes of morality and existence. Through them, I began to question not only what love means to me, but what it can mean to us as a UU community. Andrea's passing felt like this seismic shift that was reverberating deep within my being, and it altered my understanding of love at the cellular level. Their embodied expression of love pushed me to reevaluate my ministry and how I show up for others. Andrea's poetry revealed love's raw and tangled nature, shedding light on the beauty of being fully present, even in the face of grief and death. They once wrote, "In the end, I want my heart to be covered in stretch marks." Right? Go ahead, it's okay to clap, yeah. That statement, when I read that, it shook me. It was so powerful. It was a powerful aspiration for me to live my life more authentically, allowing love to etch its marks into the very fabric of one's soul. This is the essence of love at the center. I invite you all to hold with me today a love that experiences full spectrum of human emotions, and it's a commitment that can feel both very familiar but also very distant. I've been up here many times, and I've guided us in a meditative practice of deep breathing, right? We've done this work together. And for me, when we do this meditative practice together as a community, it feels intertwined with this essence of love. And this kind of love is a practice. It's not a destination, it's a practice. And like any meditation, we may encounter some distractions. And there will be moments when our minds will wander, and we have to recenter ourselves and reconnect with ourselves. And when we practice in a meditative form, sometimes we may fall just a little bit short of our own expectations of what we should be doing. But this is where love comes in, right? We have to be gentle with ourselves, exhaling the past and embracing the opportunity that we have to begin again. Loving at the center is a meditative practice. it evolves, and it is always offering us a chance to grow with each dawn, each moment, and each breath. Just as love is this breathing thing that is dynamic, so are we in our faith. We are dynamic. Beloveds, we are a living tradition. And some of you may not know what that means, so I'm going to share. To be a living tradition means, well, our beliefs are as diverse and inclusive as the day is long. To be a living tradition, a faith of a living tradition, means that we recognize and we understand that the world is always changing, that there are going to be new experiences, and with that shift and change, we too need to change with the world. And at the General Assembly in June of 2024, we witnessed a transformative moment as Article 2 passed, replacing our previous 7 and 8 principles with 6 values centered around love. There they are. Love at the center. As Unitarian Universalists, we draw from our heritages of freedom, of reason and hope and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. And these 6 values that you see up here, these 6 values are centered around love, and they are inseparable from one another. They are woven together, our shared values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. JETPIG. JETPIG. Can act as guides to connect to ourselves, to our community, and beyond. Thank you. UU Minister Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme explained it best. She wrote, grounded in this type of love, Universalists rejected any ideas of an afterlife and ultimately separated human mankind into the saved and the damned. They rejected the violence and cruelty inherent in traditional notions of atonement, which understood God as having ordained Jesus to suffer and die on behalf of humanity. The Universalists focused on the process of living as one, of coming together in alignment with love as a response to the unshakable foundation of knowing one was already completely held in love. She said this type of creative, active love led to the forefront of many social movements throughout history that UUs have been present for. Abolitionist, temperance, women's suffrage, better treatment for prisoners and people with mental illness, opposing Chinese exclusion and Japanese internment camps, civil rights, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender rights. See, we are a faith of living tradition that requires us to be in covenant of a legacy of these UU values and lineage. So today, I wanted to share not only about the possibilities of understanding love at the center, I wanted us to just get acquainted with the first 3 values of JETPIG. And do you all remember what the J stands for? And the E? And the T? You're all good. That's good. And next week, I will continue to talk about love at the center, and we will then go over pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And each one of these values, honestly, could have their very own Sunday, but we're not there yet. We're just getting acquainted with them today. So our value of justice requires us to work to be a diverse, multicultural, beloved community where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic process to make decisions within our congregations and our association and society at large. So that is the value of justice, with love centered in the middle. Sam, would you be able to put that back up on the screen if you don't mind? Just so we can keep coming back to it. Thank you. Right? So that's justice. Our value of equity declares that every single person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, our wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. So that would be the equity piece, all centered around love. And the value of transformation says we covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. See, that's the key. It's never complete and it's never perfect. And as a living tradition, these are great values to live into. But how do we work to become a more inclusive, diverse, multicultural, beloved community? How do we do that? How do we hold space for the diverse, multicultural, beloved communities that are already here? And how do we add more stretch marks to our hearts? How do we add more stretch marks to our hearts and creatively and actively live into the kind of transformational love that's at the center? Friends, those are really big questions, right? And these are questions that I've been sitting with. And these are questions that I'm asking you, inviting you, encouraging you to sit with. These questions are big, and it's a process, right? I don't have all the answers, but what I can say is that to sit with these questions, to move into understanding what it really means to center love in this kind of way is not going to happen overnight. It's a process. And today, as we gather and as a way to reflect on ways that we can understand how we can move forward, we also need to recognize and acknowledge all the things that have been done in the past to get us to where we are today, right? Because it's a journey. It's not a destination, right? The practice is a journey. And so we have to acknowledge where we've been so we know where we're going, so we can be committed, to the path forward. Because we are rooted together in our covenant, knowing that the road to genuine transformation is often fraught with some challenges. And it will require us to embrace the messiness, right? Change is going to require us. Transformation, which is one of the values that we'll talk about next week, is going to require some messiness. It's going to be painful sometimes. And the process of growth requires us to sit, or to be with our discomfort. Because that is where the work truly begins. It starts with each of us, both as individuals and collectively, recognizing that engaging in transformative work together, we can truly expand our hearts with stretch marks and honor our rich theological heritage. Today, I invite you to reflect on the profound message of Andrea Gibson, which reminds us that living with love at the center is not merely an ideal, but a powerful way to engage with our lives and a way for us to be present. And as we embrace this call to love at the center, let us also consider our Unitarian Universalist history, where love has served and guided us like the North Star. It inspired the 7 principles that we still have, but it also is transforming us with these new 6 values. Before I go today, I want to share something else about Andrea. Andrea was my friend. Does anybody else know Andrea? Was Andrea your friend? Okay. See, Andrea was my friend, but Andrea just didn't know they were my friend. See, Andrea was my friend in my head, right? I connected with Andrea on Instagram. And there's this saying in the community, in the culture that I am from, that Wendy Williams would always say, oh, they're a friend in my head, right? And so Andrea had become this friend in my head. So you can't tell me any different. They were my friend, right? And I am thankful to Andrea. I am thankful for their gifts because they shared themselves completely and authentically to the very end. They taught me and are still teaching me how to connect with love at the center. And in the end, I not only want my heart to have more stretch marks, but I want all of our hearts to be covered in stretch marks. Thank you. Please rise and body your spirit as we sing our closing hymn, 131, Love Will Guide Us. be seated. As we close and leave here today, I would like us to remember that love does not care what you believe. Love focuses on how we can generate life-giving hope together with those around us. Love is not and never has been something that exists in isolation or separate from sacred. Like theology, it has never been a monologue. It unfolds collectively in spaces far beyond the entrenched positions of what each of us does or does not believe. Love is not mine or yours, but it is ours. And with that, I would like to invite you to join us in singing our postlude, Love, and the words will be up here. And I believe Carrie has mentioned something a little bit about dancing, and so there's nothing better than having love, singing, and dancing together. So please join us in singing our postlude, Love. And in the spirits, please move, sway, and Carrie will guide us on our way out. And thank you for coming, thank you for showing up, and thank you for being present. And I wish you all the best for your week ahead. And please remember to try to allow love to expand your heart and to have some stretch marks. Amen, ashe, and may it be so.